In second, third pillar and PEP, you will usually have tied up savings until you are 65, so you will be unable to withdraw before reaching that official retirement age. And the last good point or thing to think about is to repay debt before you are retired. Probably no one probably wants to have a mortgage by the time you're old. Same with other loans, because as we already discussed today, interest rates can change on those. Your monthly repayments can skyrocket, and then that can cause troubles in retirement. You might be forced to take out other loans or seek support elsewhere to sort of pay for it. And also, they just always have to be paid even if emergencies happen. So it's good to get rid of this mandatory payment that can cause trouble unless paid before you reach retirement. And once you get rid of all that, once you've invested a portion of your income into ETFs and fully utilized any employer contributions into PEP or third pillar, second pillar money that is often free of charge, then expenses decrease slightly when you're old, and you're likely to have the decent retirement you dream of. Just don't rely only on the state, but be sure to cut out some of your comfort today to utilize these investing schemes. Okay, that would be everything I had prepared for this presentation. Nice, it's 12:59. If anyone wants to stay a bit longer over time, then I'll be happy to listen to any other questions you might have about this topic of pensions. So feel free to submit them through Slido or unmute yourselves and ask. If you're hungry already and need to go get lunch, I totally understand that. In that case, thank you very much for being here until the end of this excruciatingly long webinar. I really appreciate that there are still 32 people present and have actually watched the entire content. You will get the recording and the slides afterwards so that you can come back to any ideas. So thank you very much. And I'm open to any questions.
I placed some question in Slido.
Yeah, I see. Why is there such a difference in calculating pension and PEP in Finax? Oh, of course, Finax application went the same scenario. It's because of a difference in the fee. So the regular ETF investing in Finax carries a larger fee. When you include VAT, it's 1.2% per year. European pension has a reduced fee. It has 0.72%, and that already includes VAT, right? So we sort of advantaged this PEP saving, partly because of the cap, but also because you lose some flexibility, right? You cannot withdraw before 65. So we wanted to award some compensation. And that difference of roughly 0.5, that makes a lot of difference over 40 years.
I saw that it's very different. But the question is then the calculated pension add-on is then calculated for a lifetime payout?
Oh yeah. Now you mean in the classic pension ETF or via European pension?
Via European pension.
Yeah. There it assumes a 20-year payout period. Yeah. So you distribute it over 20 years. And it also assumes, because as I mentioned, this is maybe good to know, the PEP, we don't cover it in this English presentation by default because it's sort of usually specific to comparisons against third pillar in a specific country. But PEP has automatic life cycling. This means that if you save in it, then you first have 100% stock strategy or 80% stock. If you want to be more cautious, you can select that. And then 10 years before retirement, so when you're 55, gradually we start shifting a portion of your investment into bonds, just like we discussed before with the examples of payout portfolios when we were discussing the audience question in the first presentation. So we automatically start shifting a portion into bonds, and this shift happens gradually, month after month, over the 10-year period until when you retire, you reach 60-40 allocation. So you have 60% in stock and in stocks and 40% in bonds. This is based on the idea of the where was it of this payout portfolio, right? On the of this idea that you shouldn't just hold it in cash, right? And you keep it in the 60-40. We call it the payout portfolio in the payout phase for those 20 years. So you draw down money that way. In many countries, this is an insane advantage because, for example, third pillar schemes in Slovakia, they have this. They also have these payout strategies. So these payout funds into which your money gets shifted, but all of them are 100% bonds. So they are super, super conservative, right? And when you hold it in bonds for 20 years and a 60-40 portfolio, the extra expected return then you get by having a more dynamic strategy, which will, of course, fluctuate more. But as I said, that doesn't have to endanger you much if you have such a long horizon. Then you can extract a lot of extra money, extra expected return from it. So your expected engine is even higher. There's like another reason why the expected pension from PEP might be higher from trying third pillar in Slovakia when you use Oranžová obálka or something like that. So those are the assumptions. The assumptions are 60-40 strategy and 20 years. And yeah, it's gradual drawdown. So it's not a lump sum payout, which is also possible. But then, it's it wouldn't be expected per month, right?
Yeah, and then it means like it's calculated for 20 years, but then when somebody lives longer, then it's like it's exhausted and then it's gone, or is it continuing?
You never know when an investment is exhausted, right? Because we might expect 8 to 10%, which is like the longer term average, but in investing, the actual result always differs from the expectation, right? It can be slightly higher, it can be slightly lower. You would experience 20-year periods where you had 6.5, right? Or 6. And you would experience 20-year periods where you had 14% per year, right? All those deviations from the expectation can happen. It's just statistic. So it's impossible to design a solution that will go, right to zero after 20 years. I think there's a high chance that there would still be some money left. But also that there would be, no money left. But the main thing is that you can select the withdrawal period yourself when you retire. So upon retirement, when you're 65, I believe you can adjust the number of years for which you can draw the pension, and the algorithm will recalculate it and recommend, a withdrawal amount. But yeah, there is always a risk that you live super long and that the money will run out. That's how second and third pillars often work. So yeah, nothing.
And then in the opposite case, the residual amount is inherited if you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's also true about second, third pillar and European pension in general. That money is inheritable. So it automatically enters the classic inheritance procedure. It won't. People are often afraid that it will, the state will just claim it all. But that's not true. Your family gets it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Maciej, I can see the question.
Yes, I have two questions. The first one is about what will happen if my life will unexpectedly end before 65 in your pension, in Finax pension plan?
The portfolio is inherited by your relatives. So just like it is a part of inheritance procedure after retirement, that also it's like any other asset you own afterwards. And I'm not sure. You can read it in the documentation on our website because I know there is like this specific question in so-called key information documents of these things. And there is the specific question of what happens if I die before retirement. And I think that, from the inheritance, it's just money as, a paid out lump sum. I don't even think that the relatives have to wait until you would have been theoretically 65 to withdraw it. I believe they can just use the money right away. But I might be wrong about this. I would check that in the key information document.
Okay. And the second question is maybe it was already mentioned and I overheard, but in my case, the big difference between state pension and for example, Finax pension is that it's very well possibility that state will go bankrupt, will go broke. So what is the guarantee of Finax? Is it somehow guaranteed by state? Or if, for example, Finax will go broke, it means that invested money will go away?
That's a great question. We get it all the time. There are mechanisms in place to prevent this, right? So first of all, and this is, by the way, the reason why you should always look whether you are investing through a company which has an official broker license, right? But if you are investing through a licensed broker, there is very strict requirement to separate the money of the company and the money of the clients. So we are required by the law to have a separate bank account for client money. We never can mix a single cent of that with our own money that we use for our expenses, our salaries, and anything like that. It is a separate account. And from there, it goes to a so-called custodian. This is an external company. In our case, it's the KBC Bank, so one of the largest European banks, a Belgian bank, which acts as an asset custodian. So once we purchase ETFs, they as a company store it, right? Also on accounts that have to be separated from their own money, right? So this is the first mechanism. There always has to be the money always has to be on separate accounts from company money. So it can't happen that if we go broke, we just already gambled away all our money on our salaries or on our expenses on INT development. We never can pay our expenses from your money. So that means that if we went bankrupt, the money is still there, right? It still sits in KBC, or it still sits in that separate bank account. We just don't have any more money in our bank account, right? The company money. So what usually happens there is that someone takes over the clients. You know, it's like an asset. Usually when a robo-advisor or even bank goes bankrupt, just a larger player absorbs them. And then they usually have to, by law, after the acquisition, tell the clients, look, we're taking over these portfolios. We are either changing their investment strategies or we are keeping them as they are. So you can either withdraw the money now or you can continue with us as the new owner of Finax, as the new owner of you as clients. This happened a couple of times. For example, you might remember that in early 2023, there were a couple of these of smaller banks in the US. Most of them just go swallowed up by JP Morgan, and just the clients became clients of JP Morgan and could withdraw their money and terminate their accounts with JP Morgan or continue there. Nothing happened. But also something happened in Europe very recently. There was this robo-advisor ETF Matic owned by Belgian Ion Bank, and Ion decided to sell it because it was at a loss. And we as Finax actually absorbed that. We acquired them in an acquisition, and their clients just became our clients. Like, they didn't lose a cent of that. They were informed about the change. They were informed about the fact that their fees are staying the same and portfolios are staying the same. If they didn't like the change, they could just withdraw their money and invest it elsewhere. But the key thing is that if a company goes bankrupt, since the money is separated, not a cent of client money can be lost. But secondly, there is also a second mechanism, not just separation, but the second mechanism is that there is, and this is functioning in Slovakia, and I believe also in other countries under different names. In Slovakia, there is this insurance scheme called the Investment Guarantee Fund. It probably functions in a similar manner under different names in other countries. So Investment Guarantee Fund is a fund established by the National Bank of Slovakia as our regulator, and we are forced to spend a portion of our of our annual revenues. We are forced to contribute a portion of that for that insurance into that fund. And that fund serves for whenever one of the companies goes bankrupt and, as a consequence, somehow client money would be lost, up to 50,000 per client, you will get recovery from that fund, right? So that's to guarantee that money. If a bankruptcy happens and money is somehow lost, then up to 50,000 is insured by the Investment Guarantee Fund. But in the first place, it shouldn't happen that client money is, lost by a bankruptcy, because it should be separated.
I have a similar question.
Can I perhaps answer the Slido question first? It was like 5 minutes ago, and then we can get to your question, of course.
Sure.
Because I just see, is the regular payment to PEP strictly mandatory or it can be interrupted? Yes, it can be interrupted. You essentially, none of our products are mandatory, and even third pillar is called voluntary pension because there's no mandatory contribution, right? So your own contributions usually are not mandatory. You can stop paying into it when you want. You can adjust. You can make a larger contribution if you have more money. I don't know, towards the end of the year when you get a bonus or something like that. So you can make extraordinary payments. You can pause it. It's usually just that if employers agree to contribute something, then they will probably be doing it regularly, but there's no sanction if that is disrupted. That's also true for all Finax products. So any portfolio here just doesn't have any mandatory contributions. You can stop, pause, make an extraordinary investment whenever you want. So no need. It's voluntary. But it's better to do it every month, right? Because that's how you achieve the results that we talked about. All of the calculations presume that you do it every month. But yeah, check.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm the one with the question. So I want to talk about the comparison with Revolut and perhaps Finax platform. What would be the pros and cons? Because I imagine those two products or platforms to be a little bit different. And then, as an addition to that, I'm curious, how would this payout period look like in the matter of fees of every withdrawal? So I imagine that during the withdrawal period, when I am on my retirement, there is a pool of money which I gain by investing. Actually, it's not the real money; it's still those stocks and just portfolio. So I understand that there would be a fee each month when I want to transfer this to my account. How does this work? But after the comparison part.
There's still the management fee of 0.72% that doesn't cease to exist. There is no fee on the side of Finax for withdrawals. We sort of that's the idea with which the company was founded, right? To simplify fee structure, not have hidden fees. So we don't charge anything for deposits and withdrawals. So on the side of Finax, there is no fee. The only fee you have to bear is the stock exchange transaction fee, which is a certain percentage from the volume, right? But that is very, very minor, especially since we are selling off at large volumes right now. So usually on stock exchange, it works in a manner that if you sell a large volume, a lot of money at once, your average fee per one ETF or something subtracted by the stock exchange just is lower, right? So that is in fractions of percent for trade, really like that can be 0.013% or something like that, I believe. So some transaction fee there on the part of stock exchange, no withdrawal fee on the side of Finax, and then it just from the stock exchange it arrives into our Tatra Banka account for client money, and we send it from Tatra Banka to whatever bank you requested the withdrawal to. So that's usually, unless you're in some very international bank, foreign bank, that's usually also without a fee. So the only cost you bear when drawing up down income is the continued management fee of 0.72% and transaction fees on stock exchange, minor ones for selling ETFs.
Okay, and the comparison with Revolut.
Oh,
and it's not about
yeah. Sorry. It's been a long time presenting. I believe Revolut allows you to buy ETFs yourself or buy stocks yourself, right? Similar to.
It's a little bit limited for ETFs, so you can. What they are saying, you can buy most of the major ones, but you do not have access to like the old.
Yeah, I understand, but I would say that the concept is similar to, I don't know, XTB or eToro or brokers like that. It's usually more direct intermediation than having a portfolio like we, right? That we manage under our rules. This is again a comparison that is like super fair to ask for, and I do it often. The main difference is with a robo advisor like us, you get slightly more comfort, right? Or not slightly, a lot, much more comfort. That is what we seek to do. And also guidance, right? So with us, you don't have to pick which ETFs you want to include in your portfolio. You don't have to select the split between stocks and bonds that are the most suitable for your goal based on the data. And you don't have to do some other things, such as, when you deposit funds via Revolut or something like that, you usually have to send the deposit, and then you have to split it according to the percentage that is desired by you across the ETFs or stocks that you want to buy. And you have to compute those percentages and how much money you should send into every ETF yourself, right? Whereas in Finax, you just set a standing order and forget about it, because we care about the percentages. And also there's this process called rebalancing, which ensures that the riskiness of your portfolio stays on the desired level. So for example, when you have 60% stocks on 40% bonds, then what can happen in the first year is that stocks grow massively, whereas bonds decline slightly, or the other way around. Stocks decline massively and bonds grow slightly. That means that the percentage distribution of your portfolio will be much different from 60 to 40 after 1 year, right? For example, if stocks grew massively, their portion could have increased from 60 to 70%. And if bonds decline slightly, their portion could have decreased from 40 to 30%. So in order to keep the riskiness of the portfolio as desired, right, its fluctuations and everything, we then conduct rebalancing. We sell a portion of investments and we buy a portion of investments, or sell some stocks and buy some bonds to get it back to 60-40, right? And we do it in a way to like eliminate tax burden and everything like that. In manual investing, so through Revolut or XTB, you would have to do rebalancing yourself, right? So you have all these like little technical things, such as having to distribute the deposits and conduct rebalancing yourself, right? Also, when investing in them, another advantage of robo-advisors, don't worry, I will also talk about disadvantages of robo-advisors, to be fair. Another advantage of robo-advisors, you're not that prone to speculate. As we saw, the biggest enemy of investors is usually their own behavior. It's falling prey to trends and everything. And since these trading platforms, these brokers, they often have the most income from people who trade the most, right? Because they always take a cut when you buy or sell. They don't have portfolios with management fees. They take cuts, right? So they are incentivized to sort of nudge you to invest. Whenever you enter the app, you see the trending stocks. You see like Nvidia up 250%. Go buy it. You're missing out. So that might force you to, panic, start making active decisions, start selling some stocks when there's panic, start buying some stocks that have grown a lot because everyone is doing it. So you're sort of nudged to speculate, and that can be dangerous, as we saw on the data today, that usually when people start speculating, they just lose money or earn less. So these are the advantages of robo-advisors, right? They are comfortable. You don't have to split deposits yourself. You don't have to select ETFs that are the cheapest. You don't have to rebalance, and you can set a standing order and forget about your money for however long you need. The problem is that robo-advisors are more expensive because all this costs money. We as Finax also produce a lot of content, so that costs money naturally, because you need people to produce that content. So yes, you will get an email that will calm you down when there's a decline, which is highly appreciated by many of our clients. But you will have a higher fee. Usually when you invest through brokers like XTB or like Revolut, you will not pay any management fee on top of the ETF internal fees. You will just pay some fees for transactions, buying, selling, but they usually aren't as high as the 0.75 or 1.2. So, if you are willing to sacrifice a lot of your time, nerves, and have some advanced knowledge on how to select ETFs and rebalance, then you can minimize your cost by doing brokers. If the goal of your managing money is to focus on your career and focus on your family and spend more time doing what you love, and you are willing to pay a slightly higher fee for that extra comfort and ability to forget about money, then robo-advisors are the ideal solution, but you will pay more. You will usually not pay as much as in mutual funds or something like that. Like 1.2 is still a fairly low fee, but there's no way we can undercut brokers directly.
Nice.
So that is the idea of robo-advisors.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's clear and makes sense.
Thank you. Happy to hear that. Okay. Anything else you would like to know? Because if not, just wanted to say that you can whenever email or text me, either on my LinkedIn, Shimon Pekar, or on my email, pekar@finax.eu. It will be on the title slide that we will share with you along with the recording. There was, this little, this little introduction. You can either email me if anything comes to mind later on, or you can ask the company in general. We just have an email called client@finax.eu, where you can ask anything. It can even be related to your personal situation. We often answer, questions like that there. If they're interesting, we can even ask you if you consent to it being included in our podcast, because we have one podcast series where we just answer questions of clients. So you can ask us, mail us later on. We will be happy. We'll also be super happy if you check out our other content, such as our podcasts or articles on our website, our webinars. We produce them free of charge. It's very similar to what you heard here, but oftentimes in more detail on more niche topics. So with that in mind, I guess let's go get lunch because everyone must be starving. I definitely am. So thank you for staying with me for 4.5 hours. And I hope you learned something interesting. You learned something new that helped you gain a new perspective on how you can manage your money. And I really hope that it will mainly help you, create some habits that will help you lead a more stress-free life, which is the main goal. More freedom and less stress. Thank you very much and goodbye. Enjoy your day.
Ďakujeme.
Majte za čo, ja ďakujem.
Díky, mějte se.
Mějte se.
Díky moc, naschle.
Dovidenia.
Dovidenia.
Ďakujem, dovidenia.